Our first guest today is going to speak for 15 minutes about AI and the ethics of AI at Facebook. So I'd like for you to give a warm round of applause to the Privacy and Public Policy Manager of Facebook, Mr. Norberto Andrade.
Hi, thanks. Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. I know it's the first talk after lunch, so the timing can get a bit tricky. So let's keep the momentum and bring the energy up. My name is Norberto Andrade. I'm a Privacy and Public Policy Manager at Facebook. I work very closely with product managers and engineers in the area of AI and ethics. And being part of the public policy team, I also work and engage with policymakers and privacy advocates. It's my first time here at CIBIT, so very excited to be here. I'm also very excited to share a little bit of the work, of the important work that we're doing at Facebook on this front. So let's start with AI. So what comes to mind, what do you think when you hear AI? It's a rhetorical question. Let's see if this is work. I would imagine that you're thinking about machines, robots, self-driving cars. I've seen a bunch of robots around, actually. And often when people think about AI, they often think of something as somehow disassociated from humans, as embodied agents that might have capability to develop their own volition, or that they might have their own agenda. They might even act under their own set of beliefs, principles, or values. But actually, in fact, it's quite the opposite. AI, and especially machine learning, are a product of the data that they are trained on. And guess what? That data comes from us, humans. So AI, and specifically machine learning, are a reflection of who we are, for the better or for the worse. AI, in fact, is profoundly human. You can imagine as a child that absorbs, imitates, replicates, and learns from her surroundings, from whatever she sees. So for those who have children, this is a ton of responsibility. Not only you have to teach them everything, you still need at the same time to instill in them a strong set of values. So with AI, something similar happens. Similar to the way that we teach children, we also need to teach AI how to learn. And in that process, we pass along our values to them. And here there are a number of important questions. And some of them go directly to some of the issues that we work on Facebook. How should we train AI to be fair? How should we train AI to support people that might express suicidal thoughts on our platform? And how should we do that without compromising their privacy? Another question could be, how should we use AI to remove hate speech from our platform? And how should we use that technology in a way that respects different cultural and geographical sensitivities associated with the term? These are all tough ethical questions. And we, as teachers of AI, have the responsibility to grapple with them. And we are. Because AI is not only helping us build community at Facebook, AI is transforming industries across the globe. So more than a science, economics call AI a general-purpose technology. It is transforming every field it enters, from healthcare to education, from farming to transportation. And AI's effects are not only pervasive, they are also personal. AI informs decisions that are impacting us immediately. Whether you get a loan from the bank, how sentences are defined and applied in the justice and criminal system. How these are all questions these are all decisions that are actually being powered by AI and are impacting us today. So AI is already here. And it's up to us to make sure that AI treats people well, that protects them and works for them. Sorry, this was the slide I should have been talking about. I apologize for that. So let me share how we're approaching AI ethics at Facebook. And in particular, how we're approaching one of its most challenging and important questions. How do we build unbiased and fair artificial intelligence? So here we are taking a holistic view. We're investing, first, in the people that build the algorithms. Secondly, the data that we use to teach AI. And thirdly, on the algorithms themselves that represent what AI ultimately learns. So it begins with people, who are the builders and the teachers of AI. So we believe it matters who these people are. Because if AI only learns from a small group of people, it might only see a very narrow point of view. So we need a diverse set of voices at the table. And of course, no table of people or no set of voices is going to be perfect. And why is that? Because all of us, in some way or the other, have biases. We all have biases. Our views of the world are informed by where we're from, where we grew up, by who taught us, by who we talk to, by what we see. So you all have different assumptions and different biases about the people that are just behind me on this slide. And because it's people who design, develop, and generate the data that teaches AI, we need to understand and mitigate our own biases so we ensure that we don't pass them along, so that our AI can actually be better than we have. So to help do this at Facebook, we have product, research, and other review processes in place. And these processes act as independent checkpoints on how people are doing their work at Facebook. These processes involve also external feedback. And this external feedback actually helps us grow that table and incorporate a multitude of inputs that help shape our direction. As a member of the research and product review teams, it's actually part of my job to make sure that that external feedback is taken into consideration. But process checks alone are not enough. We need to ensure that our actions and their consequences are aligned with ethical principles and ethical practices. So whether we are building better translation services or ranking the newsfeed, we need to understand how each product impacts how people connect, communicate in our platform, and how also they express their identities through our services. So knowing the stakes, we ask technologists, but also social scientists to work together and to think critically about how and why we are changing the world. We ask them to double down on a fundamental question. Is this how we'll make the most positive possible impact for people? A core part of that question comes down to the data that we use to teach AI. So processes of selecting and labeling data are fundamentally important. We need to label data so we can teach machines what we want them to do for us. So, for example, if we want a machine to be able to recognize cats, we need to train that machine with examples of photos or images with cats, right? Easy. So let me show you what I mean by using a fun product that is already in production called the automatic avatar generation for social virtual reality. So this feature is about generating avatars based on photos of people. And here what we want to do is to be able to build avatars for everyone. So the challenge is, how can we leverage this technology and do it in an automated fashion that we can represent humanity? And more difficult, how we can represent the diversity of humanity. So how do we do that? First, we need art that can represent people's faces. And this includes skin tones, jaw shapes, hairstyles, even beards or mustaches. To do this, we need to hand label photos of people's real faces. And those labels need to be comprehensive, accurate, and unbiased. So you can just have an example of the different types of beards that we have annotated that I didn't even know about it. So it is based on those labels that will train machines to automatically generate avatars. And here's the thing. If those labels do not incorporate certain skin tones, shapes, or styles, the machine will end up not learning how to generate avatars with those attributes. And secondly, to make this feature work, our AI needs to automatically select the right art for each and every one of you. So it needs to have been trained on a wide diversity of faces. Hand-labeled datasets help power AI systems across Facebook. So beyond avatar generation, they're also behind the building of many other features and products, like ranking newsfeed and many other products that we have for protection and integrity efforts in our platform. So the team that manages this labeling process has a big responsibility. So they've designed bias mitigation guidelines so that they can provide the proper guidance to human annotators, to the people that are asked to label data, so that they can do it in a consistent, objective, and unbiased manner. So these guidelines are important because they will direct how we should go about that process in a way that is consistent, in a way that is comprehensive, and to the best extent possible that will not create biases. And it's important also for raters to actually read those guidelines because sometimes it helps them counter their own human biases when being exposed to certain content that they are asked to label. So these guidelines are important for us to scale a process, a labeling process that is unbiased and is applicable to all products across the board. So labeling cats is easy. I'll give you that. But labeling, for example, hate speech in written content can be a very complex endeavor. And here, we need to make sure that those guidelines ensure some objectivity and accuracy in that. And that's why they are so important, given the cultural nuances of hate speech and how can they change from region to region, from legal system to legal system. So, of course, no matter how much energy you're going to spend to get your labels right and that your data is good, you will still need to check that your AI is not learning or propagating biases that were not accounted for in the data collection and annotation phase. So how can we do this? How can we actually test algorithms for fairness and bias? So for this, let me give you an example of how we approach this challenge through another product, our jobs recommendations tool. This tool very simply helps job seekers around the world to use Facebook so they can search and apply for openings at local businesses. So here, the challenge is that we want to ensure that our job recommendation algorithm is not inadvertently biased. In this case, we want to make sure that it's not providing economic disparate empowerment to only a limited group of people. It's providing the same opportunities for everyone. So we work with leading researchers from the algorithmic fairness and research community to design an internal tool that we call the fairness flow. And the fairness flow, very simply put, measures algorithmic fairness across a number of parameters. So we use the fairness flow. My time is almost up, actually, so I will go really quickly. We use the fairness flow to ensure that our raw recommendations algorithm provides value equally to both women and men, to people over 40 and under 40. And the fairness flow starts with the data and checks the diversity of the people represented in that data set. It dissects the data set, kind of providing its anatomy, and gives the machine learning engineer a view of the subgroups that are composing that data set, be it by age, gender, location, or language. It provides them a holistic picture. And in addition, not only gives them that information about what is represented in the data set, it also asks if the algorithm itself is providing high-quality recommendations for people that belong to each of those subgroups. So we would tell the engineer if the algorithm is performing equally well across different groups. So diverse training set and robust model performance are just two of the metrics. These metrics, there are others in the fairness flow, and they have been identified by the algorithmic research community that we've been working with. So these algorithm checks and balances are going to be part of not only this product, but we're actually going to integrate the fairness flow into our centralized platform for algorithmic modeling, which we call the FP Learner. And this permits two important things. First of all, it means that any machine learning engineer at Facebook can plug into this technology and inspect their algorithms for biases from a different set of angles and with fast computation. And secondly, it will allow them to avoid reinventing the wheel, because they can, through this tool, draw on best practices that come from the external community along with our internal work. So this is still an active area for research and development, and this conversation needs to involve a diverse set of perspectives. So it's not the biggest questions that we have ahead of us are not only going to be solved by technologists. So we need to have not only computer engineering, data science, statistics, and mathematics. We need to have law, policy, philosophy, history, and policy research along the way. So to conclude, AI is a transformative and powerful technology. Harnessing its power in a responsible way requires us to think deeply how we're building it. Part of that process is teaching AI. Teaching AI how to be fair, how to be accurate, how to work for us. The bias mitigation guidelines and the fairness flow are two steps in that direction, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. So to conclude, artificial intelligence is our responsibility. Artificial intelligence belongs to all of us. So let's all work together to teach it, so that machines, at the end of the day, not only inherit the best of us, but also help us to be the best that we can be. Thank you.